Okay, so we're up to Perek Yud, which is Bibir Nikiyas. So we finished the first two steps, which are Zehiras and Zrizus. Zehiras is staying away from the bad, making the business plan. Zrizus is the way a person approaches the mitzvah, how he runs to do it. When he knows he has an obligation, he runs to make sure he gets it, does not let time elapse more than necessary in between his realizing his obligation and his fulfillment of the mitzvah. And then also, once he has the mitzvah in his clutches, he doesn't let go. He does the mitzvah, he fulfills it until it's all done. That's the heroes and zrizus. Now, I'll tell you on a personal note, when I was a bacher, I went to Mesillas a number of times, and I never got past zrizus. Because I always thought to myself that I can't, I can relate to Zehiras and Zrizus, but like, for example, Nikiyas, we'll explain what it means in a second, has to start off. It starts off, now that a person is totally clean, and he's clear from any bad character trait, any Aveira, so now you can go weiter in your Avodas Hashem. Now you can continue in the work, in the service of Hashem. So that wasn't relevant to me. I was 17 years old, it's not relevant to me. But as I matured, at least I think I matured, depends who you ask, I realized that it's important to know what the whole ladder is about, every rung. It's important to understand the entire framework of our service of Hashem, and even if one step does not yet relate to me, but it's important for me to know that. And then I realized also that it does relate to me, because I don't think it's a stira, it's a contradiction to skip a step. I think it's possible to find something in every one of these steps in the ladder, the rungs in the ladder that can relate to us, even if I'm not naki lagamri, mikol midaro, mikol chait, there are still things in Nikiyas that we can relate to. And it'll teach us things about ourselves that'll help us stay away from Aveira, from doing Aveira, from sinning. So the way the Mesillas explains the meaning of Nikiyas in the first couple of pages is as follows. He says that when it comes to Zehiras and Zrizus, that's focusing on the obvious Aveiros, right? So I shouldn't speak meanly to a person, I should speak nicely to everyone. And I have to be careful to make a bracha with the proper kavanah. These are like Aveiros, the Asher Yotze. These are Aveiros and mitzvahs that we all know, they're clear to us, and we work on them. And that's the Zehiras and Zrizus. Nikiyas is what's called, a person is moire heter to himself. He says, you know what, this is not really Chil Shabbos, because I have a svara. Or, let's say he's not sure if he made a bracha, the halach is I don't have to repeat Shemona Esrei, I don't have to make the bracha again. Right? So there's a more subtle area of Aveira, or lack of fulfillment of mitzvahs, where the person, it's not about, I know it's wrong, but I have a Yetzirah, I have to control myself. That's the Zehiras and Zrizus, but this is mutter. And it's, we have a weak constitution, at least ruchnius spiritually, and we're always looking for heter. And it will be moira heter, not even knowing we're doing it. So that's Nikiyas. Nikiyas is, the way the Mesillas explains it, is taking away the desire for the Aveira. In other words, I have a tremendous taiva for money, and I've robbed banks in the past. So I stopped doing that. Right? A person stops doing that. But that desire for money is still there. And we'll see in Perek Yud, he brings Gezel as the first example. So there are more subtle ways that a person can steal. That's when Nikiyas comes in. A person has to solve that Yetzer Hara for Gezela, and then he becomes Naki. Naki means that not only do I not do those overt transgressions of the Aveira, but I'm totally clean from any shemetz, from any slight encounter with that particular sin. That's what the Mesillas says. He quotes the Gemara of Basra that says, he quotes the Gemara of the Zohar first, of Aveira she'adam dash ba'akeva. A person, there are certain Aveiras that a person steps on with his heel, which he takes to mean these Aveiras that we don't realize are really Aveiras because we're being moira heter. It's those Aveiras that will surround a person after 120 when he's brought to Bezdin Shalmayla. It's not that I once spoke not nicely to someone, I gave him to Sahara, or it's the Chil Shabbos I once did in a moment when I was weak, Chas v'shalom. But it's those Aveiras that were much less obvious. For some reason, it's those ones that surround a person on the Yom HaDin. Quotes the Gemara of Basra, on Kuf Samechei, Rubam Begezel. Many people, majority, are nichshel in stealing. Umiyutam ba'arayis. Fewer people, a minority, with illicit relationships. V'chulam but avat lashon hara, and everyone is gets transgresses. Everyone is guilty of implied slander. They translate, which means it's not mamash lashon hara. I hate this guy, right? It's saying something that could be interpreted as lashon hara, and I say it in a way. Oh yeah, he's smart. You say that in a way that it can go either way, and it's not clear. You can't really catch him. Says the Gemara, everyone is caught in that because, okay, Gezel is a big Yitzhara for, but some people know I'm not going to steal. They're erlich. They're not going to steal. Arayis, that's an obvious affair. We all try to stay away from. We all stay away from that. But Avak Lashon Hara is much more subtle. So Nikiyas is about staying away from the subtle aveiros. The way one does that is by curing the desire for the aveira. Not just making sure you don't rob the bank, but taking away the desire for money. That is what midah of Nikiyas is. To be totally not, to be totally clean from the aveira. And he finishes off the parak by saying, it's obvious. Shemidah is kosher. It's a difficult thing to do. Kiteva adam cholosh. A person's his nature is he's weak when it comes to this. V'libay nifte al nikla, and his heart is easily seduced, even for very easily seduced. And he's makla atzmai hadvarim shuchal limtzei behem k'dei hat'ama. Anything that he has a desire for, he'll find a reason to say it's mutter. And a person has to be very, very careful to and it's a milchama chazaka to make sure that he's not nichshel in that.
Shouldn't this be the step beforehand? Shouldn't this be the first step? It's almost as if the first step that we mentioned is more difficult in a way, right? Because if I have a desire, strong desire to do something, fighting that desire is very, very difficult. If I might figure out a way to remove the desire, it's actually quite simple.
Right, so it's a very good question. It's a very good question. I mean, in the sense that also that this is really addressing the root of the problem, right? As opposed to just putting a band-aid on. So it's a good question. I would think, just off the cuff, that Zehiras and Zriz is more damage control. First, we have to stop the bleed. We have to get the person under control. He's not doing overt aveiros. Then we can work on the more subtle nikiyas, which is going down to the root of the cause. Or maybe if a person is parrots, he's doing he's robbing banks. It's very hard to at that point to start. Let's work on your desire for money. First he has to stop doing those obvious actions, and then he's at a point maybe he can work on himself as far as really getting down to the root of the cause of the avera. Maybe.
Probably the avera is greater. The greater the sin, the greater the avera. So you work on the big ones first, knock those out, and then start working on the small ones.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you're going right.
That also. That's right. That's right. We'll work that direction as well. Perik Yud Aleph. He goes to. The title is Beprote Midas Hanikiyas. Specifics about the virtue of cleanliness, about the nikiyas. He goes through a number of common averas and how we think that we're clean from them, but in reality we're not. It's a very long parak, so we're going to do a little bit of it this week and we'll do the rest next week. So he starts with Gezel, right? Gezel is something that the Gemara in Chagiga says, Gezel v'arayis, nafsho shel adam, mechamdasen, mis'av lahem. These are things that a person desires. He has a very strong inclination for Gezel, for stealing. Does anyone in this room consider themselves to be a thief, a bandit? No, we don't. Because none of us here, I don't think, have robbed banks. Put a ski mask on, take a gun. Some of us have taken guns, I think. Some of us. This is the South. Right? And then put a ski mask on and then go with a bag. We go into a bank and no one's done that here. Has anyone here ever, once they've matured at least, taken their hand into the friend's pocket and taken out a dollar bill? Or there's a bag hanging on the wall and you take money out of the bag? I don't think anyone here has done that. I don't think, right, Shiur? I don't think anyone has done that. Right? That's a ganav. That's a thief. So therefore, we have no connection to the aveira of gneva because we're upstanding citizens. We don't do this. But the Gemara says rubam begezer, right? So if there's 10 people in the room, so 6 of us at least, according to at least probability, have a connection to gezel. So how do we understand that chazal? So the Mesillas Yesharim goes through some of the halachas that they relate to gezel. First, he points out that loy signoiv is one. Loy signoiv was one isser of gezel. Loy sigzol. Then you have loy sashoik, loy sechachashu, loy seshakru ishba misa. There are many other bechinas of gezel. If you have a worker that worked for you that day, you must pay him on time. And if you don't pay him on time, you can be over and alav as well. But my barber shop in Eretz Yisrael had a sign by the cash register that when you pay the money, have in mind you're being makayim the dinner, v'yoyim titen schara. The mitzvah say daraisa of paying a worker on that day. But if you have a babysitter and you don't pay them, can I pay you tomorrow? And the babysitter's embarrassed and say, no, I really want the money now. So you could be in violation of this isser. It's also a bechina of gezela. The Mesillas points out that Chazal, the Gemara's and Brachas, patterned workers from benching. You don't bench, make birchas hamazon. Even when it comes to kriya shema, a worker who's being paid by the hour, Chazal said, don't say the complete kriya shema because you're working for someone else, and that is stealing. Kal v'chomer, the Rosh Kal v'chomer l'divei rashus. When it comes to sending a text, it's a shayla. If someone's paying me by the hour, it's a shayla if I can send a text. Now the answer is why that is mutter is because there's a certain assumption the way the marketplace works, right? You can go for a coffee break. If you're going every 20 minutes for an 11-minute coffee break, that's a problem. But there is a certain, again, we always say Yiddishkeit is an important concept. You have to be normal. It's a very important concept. It's sometimes forgotten. So there's a normal, but I think they are struggling today with
like
smartphones and with internet.
Like the Gemara says there when it talks about the chiyuv to say Shema. He said if the boss is there, then you could say the whole Shema because he's there. He's mochel on it. So to an extent, you have to know the relationship with your boss. If he's mochel on time, as long as you get the work done, that's fine. But some are marked and some are not. But I think almost everybody's been over stealing their boss's time, assuming they're like an hourly
especially when
employee.
there's sales on the internet. No, seriously, there's very little work done. And they've done studies into how much time work is spent shopping on the internet at work.
Right.
And
Yeah.
don't get.
We have all those sites blocked.
I was in a company in Australia. I was in a factory for conscious purposes, and I noticed that all the workers had phones like this. The contractors had smartphones. The workers had phones like this, and the company was mocked. But you cannot bring a smartphone into the work area because people get all. They have that phones.
We have a device that blocks all signals.
The blocks
from
on
workers.
it. I mean, you see workmen on the side of the road in the ditch with the shovel. I'm guaranteeing that the productivity has been diminished over the course of the past 10 years. So these are all shilas of Geneva. And so again, if you know your employer, and obviously there's a different standard to it than there was 10 years ago, and he doesn't mind, so it's not. But if he does mind, if you have a suffix, you're taking your hand, putting it into your employer's pocket, and taking money out. Now we don't view it like that. You're putting on the ski mask. You're going to rob a bank. Listen, I have no shaykhs to Geneva. I don't steal. I don't take money that's not mine. But if I make a 15-minute phone call in the middle of work, well, that's a shayla of gzeila. That is a shayla of gzeila.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
if you're invited somewhere for dinner, 7:30, and you get there late, is that stealing their time?
It's a good question. It's not okay. It's definitely wrong. If there's no good reason, but it's Jewish time. It depends on what the expectations are.
And Jewish life
This
is
way.
It's not the
That's
same.
it.
He's not being paid.
Yeah.
Anyway, with the employer, you're like,
Paid by
hey,
the
true.
hour, yeah.
you're still actually
It's
cash
paid by the hour.
Here,
The
you're stealing
question
time,
is,
but it's
if
not the
you're paid by the
same.
year,
The
there's
Drago.
you're working 8 hours a day. You're not punching a clock, but it depends. If all they care about is when you get the job done, you get it done, then there's no issue. But if it's a yearly salary, but I imagine most places there's an expectation of how many hours they're going to spend. I mean, there's always work. Whatever the job is, there's always work to do. So you're not punching a clock per se, but to take a half hour off. So if you go to the doctor once in a while, I'm sure they don't mind. But if every day, and the truth is, we don't realize. We once had a project in my kollel in Melbourne where we actually had a very stark shmiras hasdarim where we would mark out whenever we left the base medrash. We didn't realize how much time we're not in front of the Gemara. It's a 4-hour seder. Yeah, I'm learning 3 hours and 45 minutes. Some people it was closer to 2.5 hours. Like, if we don't watch ourselves, we don't realize. Because 5 minutes here, 7 minutes there, and then you have to get back into whatever you were doing. And it was true back then, and the times the Gemara Mesillas is true today as well. That these are more dakistic and more delicate forms of gzeila, and that's what the key is about. Is about exposing those connections that we have to gzeila and making sure we stay very far away. That's it for today. So I think our avodah this week is a direct result of what he just said, which is when it comes to this, let's observe ourselves on Monday, tomorrow. But tomorrow's the day off. Veterans Day, people are off. No, we work.
That's
Except
not a big holiday.
Only
Like,
work for the post office.
Rabbi's off. Okay, so everyone but
Rum is always off.
You're special on Tuesday if you were Rami. Everyone else tomorrow. Just let's say from 9 to 12, the first 3 hours of the day, just keep a cheshbon of how much time I spend not doing my job, doing other things.
I have to check with my wife.
And we'll see what the results yield next week.